Yes, folks, welcome to Fundamental Wisdom Podcast, episode 11 with your host, Coach Bart K. On this podcast, we ask the questions that you want the answers to and discuss ideas in order to help you level up to your highest self. We have practical discussions to help you level up physically, mentally, spiritually, and financially. And on this episode, I'm honored to be joined by a very, very special guest, one of the top accounts when it comes to holistic health, a man that delivers value after value after value, a viral sensation in the space. Everyone, please welcome Ismail from the 360Upgrade. How are you doing, boss?
I'm doing great. How are you today?
I'm all good. I'm all good. Just like I said a minute beforehand, it is quite warm here, but we'll get through this.
The
So
surrounding seems amazing anyways.
yeah, it's pretty nice here, gotta say. Turkey has been treating me nicely. So
Nice.
I know that you mentioned that you're now back in London, but you spent the last few days in Montenegro, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, absolutely. Honestly, we picked Montenegro without thinking about it too much, but
Mm,
I was more than amazed by this country. It's small. It has, I think, 600,000 people.
mm.
So it's probably Camden, the size of Camden in London.
Yeah.
But it's just amazing. It has so many different natural views. It has a bay, so it looks like Lake Como, but it also has mountains coming out of the sea, so it looks like Halong
Mm.
from Vietnam. So yeah, very very amazed by it, and I think it's one of the areas that hasn't been explored as much as the other, like Croatia. So if someone is thinking about going there, it's now.
You know what? That's good to know. I'm going to be around the Balkan region,
Not too
so
far
that's
from you, yeah.
definitely, yeah,
It's not too far from
definitely
you.
one
And
for
it's
the
cheap.
list.
Cheap. You can have the best seafood uh, for cheap.
That's amazing, right? So obviously a big difference to London, but now, so I want to touch on your zero to hero story, right? So we talked about this for a second. You come from Morocco, then you were in France, you were in London. So how did, all of this holistic health stuff come about? How did the 360 upgrade go from zero to now over 56,000 followers on Instagram and, being this viral health authority that's changing people's lives?
Yeah, sure. So the background story is that both my parents are doctors. I have a father who's a surgeon, and I have my mother is in the medical side of healthcare, so not surgery. So I've always lived around this healthcare space, and I always wanted to be a doctor. Um, when I was, I think, around 12, my grandmother had a stroke, and she was quite young. She was 60 probably, and she literally was bedridden for 7 years.
Mm,
I just saw how painful that was for her. Imagine 60 and you're bedridden for 7 years before you die. It was just such a difficult time for everyone, and especially her, but everyone, because everyone had to take care, and you bring medical specialists, but it's still just taking care and managing death in a way. um, and so the moment my grandmother died, my grandfather had Alzheimer. I think it was a shock. It was something of a shock to him, and he just spent the next 7 years losing his mind, losing his memories, and then losing his ability to also, like just speak and eat and breathe. And that's how you die when you have Alzheimer. Your body just cannot do basic stuff that makes you live. Um, so yeah, so it was 14 years in a row for my grandparents from the maternal side, who was just painful. And during these 14 years, I had a few learnings. The first one is that it really sucks to lose your health.
mm,
And in most cases, by the time you start losing your health and you start caring enough about it, it's too late. I mean, Alzheimer, it's very difficult to reverse. A stroke with damage to your brain is done. You can obviously, like, people can get a bit back, but so, like, long story short is health is important, and oftentimes it's too late when it's there. And healthcare does not really help as much because it comes too late. and you like there isn't much they can do other than manage your illness. They don't really help you get better. And so that's when I decided that I will not become a doctor, but I will pursue science to kind of understand the basic of our body, the basic of health, and how our body works, and see how we can do better, how we can prevent. I think what I didn't like about healthcare is that people don't really think for themselves. They're just given the right way to think, and they just have to reproduce it.
Mm.
And fast forward to today, I mean, I started obviously from the diet perspective. I started looking at and experimenting on myself, and then had trainings in fundamentals of medicine and nutrition and healthcare, and then got to know a bit more of the other parts, the circadian rhythms, etc. And yeah, I think I like it was 2 or 3 years ago I decided to get on Instagram so that I can start sharing my tips with more people. But I have been helping friends first, and then people that I didn't know, to kind of like improve on various parts of their health, testosterone or fertility, or just well-being and energy.
Mm. Dude, that is a very interesting story, I must say, because most other people, like, it's something within them that pushes them to make a change. It's, usually the same thing, which is, a big event that causes a lot of pain for people to make a change. But mostly I've heard that, someone was very overweight or very underweight or just feeling bad about themselves. But the fact that you had to see, which I'm very sorry to hear, you had to see family members suffering through this, which now you probably know is preventable in a way, and it was more than likely caused by, the modern day way of doing things. And then, you spoke about healthcare, how it often comes too late, and then you're just told, on a sheet of paper what to do, but that doesn't really work. So you need a functional, holistic approach, personalized to the person's situation. But that's very interesting. Just to expand on the Alzheimer's side of things, I believe 2 or 3 days ago, I saw an Instagram post that in the last 30 years, there's been a 2,206% increase in Alzheimer's. Is that correct? Something along those lines?
Yeah.
Absolutely massive, 2,000 plus increase,
Yeah.
So while we're on this subject, what do you think is causing some of these autoimmune diseases, chronic illness? Let's go into that.
Yeah, sure. So, and by the way, just to come back to what you said, obviously there was a part that was just hacking to myself and how I feel, where I mean, I was 17 or 18. I was like, life cannot be like this. I was losing hair. I felt quite bad, energy wise. Slept very badly, and so that was also a component that pushed me. But seeing how it, so like it almost was like seeing how it starts, seeing how it ends, and I was like, no, I don't want it. Regarding these chronic diseases, so like so there are many factors that obviously get us these chronic diseases, but I think the biggest one from my perspective is that as humans we try to play too smart, and we are so disconnected from the basic components of health, which are getting nutritious food and avoiding food that actually destroys you from the inside, respecting your rhythms, and waking up and sleeping with the sun, getting the elements you need from nature. And this obviously includes food, but it also includes connection to the earth, connection to the sun, connection to just greenery. When you see green, your body relaxes, and you can feel more, you can lower your inflammation. And so this disconnection from all of these things may make it very hard for our body to keep us healthy. In addition to that, you start living in environments indoors where you have scents and you have all these toxins and you have all of these, disruptors that are coming into play in our body. And so we're just giving our body less to be healthy and more to deal with. And so it shouldn't be a surprise that people get many illnesses from that.
So nowadays we're more connected than ever, in a sense. I mean, online, but we're the most disconnected we've ever been from actual real life, nature. and all of that. So that's a funny narrative, but I do see a lot of people waking up to all of this nowadays, with accounts like yourself, pushing like this actual, like actionable advice out there, telling people that, hey, look, maybe you should just get off your phone for 10 minutes a day and go for a walk, have some nature. It's going to do you a lot more good than you think it might. So that is
And
massive.
I think you must see it as well, because I think you're one of the people that I follow that travels the most, and I think you must see it when you go through different countries. Unfortunately, it's very much correlated to development. The less developed a country, the more you can see that they have a better sense of community. They spend a bit more time outside. They still eat the food that their grandfathers and grandfathers ate. And the more you move to developed individualistic communities like the UK, the US, the more people are just, like they just don't seem happy. And,
Yeah.
and they don't seem to notice, which is the worst.
Yeah. So one thing that always gets me is just the transition food-wise from London to here. So obviously I spent most of last year living in London. Now I'm in Turkey, in Bodrum. Number one, here, the importance of organ meats in the diet is like nowhere else I've seen ever. Like on every street corner, you have a restaurant that serves everything from liver to heart to, I've seen brain soup.
Wow.
I've seen intestine soup. Some of the local street food that's mostly available here, like for example in the UK, what you have like chips and McDonald's and all these things on the street corner. Here you have kokoreç, which is lamb intestines and lamb heart wrapped into like a kebab kind of thing, grilled on fire, like a wooden fire. So, much different here. But another thing that gets me is I recently did a TV show where I had to debate a vegan against veganism. So I was obviously against veganism. In London, I don't know if anything's changed in the last 5 or 6 months that I haven't been there, but every second restaurant seems to be vegan. And here, you know what, in the shops, most shops don't even have any of that vegan stuff available that you see everywhere. There's no tofu, there's no seitan, there's no soya chunks. Very rarely you'll find something that's dairy free or meat free, so it's something to think about.
If you ask for that, they look at you in a weird way, right?
Yeah, like I always find it funny, like try going to a restaurant here and asking for a vegan option. Okay, you'll get a salad, but there's none of that stuff.
Yeah.
None of the like fake meat replacements or no just egg or none of that. So, it's interesting. But then again, I have spoken to some locals that are vegetarian, and it's very sad to hear actually, because they're only vegetarian because they can't afford meat, which is really sad. The inflation here in Turkey is absolutely insane. And coming from London myself last year, it's more expensive here for just about anything than in London, which is, dude, it's insane. It's insane. Like a decent steak, it's about 50 euros a kilo, where,
Really?
like in London and even Sainsbury's, you can get something that's better and, better quality for £5 a kilo or £10 max. So it's tough out here, but yeah, less on that. So, okay. So now that we're on the topic of like, nutrition, and I started speaking about organs and all of that stuff. So what would you say are some of the mistakes that people make nowadays with their nutrition? Now, you touched that we don't eat the food that our ancestors and our grandparents ate. So what are some of the things that you've noticed and some things that people should implement in their diet nowadays?
Yeah, sure. So I think we can start from the like super basics, and I think like I don't expect any of both our followers to make these mistakes at this point, but like the stuff that like margarine is better for your health, that's like the stupidest thing ever. I think it has been proven times and times again that like, and actually I can remember my grandfather and my grandmother from my mother's side always ate margarine. And so I have a N=2 study in front of my eyes of how that ends. I think this one is kind of a basic one. A second one is all the fear that people push around animal-based food as well as around saturated fats. Here again, this is soaked in interest and in biased studies and in small studies that have been disproven and disproven again and again. I think a big mistake that people make is that they try to think like chemists, and we start thinking about food like molecules and chemicals, when food is actually holistic and like much bigger than the sum of its parts. I think, again, like this is a pattern where humans think they're smart, and so they think that they understand, and so they're like, oh, that's a steak, I can make you a steak. I'm going to take vitamin XYZ, I'm going to add some color, I'm going to add some taste, I'm going to add some proteins, and I'm going to make you a steak. That's not true. Like, I think, one, we don't understand everything about what food gets us. I think like we're doing a lot of studies and trying to understand these components, but we still discover components every day, right? And so we have to be a bit more like humble and respectful of nature, and be like, you know what, I don't understand all of the tenets of what makes meat great, but I will keep consuming it because I know that something that humans make is definitely not gonna capture all the beauty of what makes meat, right? And so like focusing more on the food itself rather than the components and trying to recreate it. I mean, obviously anything that comes in a package in most cases is bad. I think one thing that people miss out is the quality of food and how important it is. What is the difference between GMO and organic and like soy raised versus grass fed, and these kind of things. And so understanding what it means when you see something that has GMO in it, it usually means that it's the case so that they can spray it with so many pesticides. So and I think one of the things that's frustrating is that you have so many extremes in terms of conspiracy theory, and so people are like, oh, GMO, this guy is scared of GMO because he thinks something is happening. No, GMO just means people are going to spray it with pesticides, and that means you're getting pesticides in you, which are toxic. People wear those masks when they put them in. Another thing is people think that they can get the same nutrition from vegan food than they get from animal-based food, and they miss this idea of bioavailability and how much of a nutrient in a food gets in your body. Vegan food, spinach, or these kind of other foods, they contain a lot of calcium, but only 5% is absorbed. While if you drink milk, 60% is absorbed. Spinach and lentils and all of these things, they have phytate, which literally like stick to your minerals, and they will almost pull minerals from your body, not give you these nutrients. And so, I think there is a lot of subtlety that is lost in the fact that we think like chemists instead of thinking about food and cuisine and like just nutrition.
And obviously you spoke about like the vegan diet, et cetera, but a big thing as well is not chemists but mathematicians as well when it comes to food. So drawing food down to calories and macros and all, protein and obviously fats, macros, all of that stuff. But I feel like that approach is just as bad. Well, it's not just as bad, but it's a silly approach, because drawing food down from this like huge complexity, and like at the end of the day, food is information, and if you eat certain foods, it's going to have a certain response on your gene expression and how your body operates as a whole. But drawing it down to 200 calories of peanut butter is 200 calories of peanut, and 200 calories of steak is the same. So you can choose either or picking foods that are low fat and low calorie because of calories. That's just as bad of an approach, I think, as well. But interesting. The modern diet.
I see like, and you know what? Like sometimes I feel like people use the blason of science to push these kind of ideas. So like I know like very big accounts that push the idea that a calorie is a calorie, and they're like, oh, people who say a calorie is not a calorie need a science degree, and then everyone starts laughing in their comments, and it's crazy, like these echo chambers that exist out there. but it shows a deep lack of understanding of the beauty of our body. Like, I mean, when you eat food, depending on the food, you will have different hormonal responses. Your liver is going to do something different with it. Your mitochondria is going to react differently to it. Some of it might pass in your stool, and that might change depending on the food you eat. So like even the calories that you need to digest different types of food will be different. So that, like, there is nothing more flawed than that idea.
Interesting. I'm glad we agree on that. Right. So now moving away from diet, because I feel like we've covered that pretty well. I know a big part of your work is centered around light, and the light you see, the light you don't see, for example. I know that you have a circadian reset course, which I'm guessing, has a lot to do with light. I know that your Frontiers of Vitality course has a lot to do about light. So let's hear it all. Light 101.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think I think one thing that people really don't think too much about when they start thinking about their health is light. Whenever I speak to someone who's just new to my account, or who hasn't been looking at this for a long time, they like they dismiss it, or they say, okay, it's a component, but it's just that. But when you think about it, as humans, our body has very little to be able to understand the environment we're in, and the time of the year and the day we're in. We sense temperature, and we can see light. um, and I think our whole evolution has been done with light, in like with solar light, with natural light around us. And so that was the way we would tell time. That was the way we would, for example, identify when is the good time to wake up, to sleep, when is the good time to um, like start growing food, and where is the good time to start actually preparing for winter, and these kind of different places. The same way a bear prepares for hibernation. Like the only signals they have is temperature and light, and that will put them to sleep, and that will wake them up after hibernation. And so I think that is the big miss that people have when you look when you look at it. Sorry, an ideal life is life that is spent with natural light outside. When you look at the sunlight spectrum and how it changes during a day as well as during a year, there is so much information in it. You have infrared in the morning, then you start having blue and UVA. UVA is going to start driving your hormones, and it's going to make reactions happen in your eyes that start pushing your hormones. Your pituitary will increase your cortisol. Then you have your UVB, which is what makes vitamin D in the skin. And making vitamin D in the skin is very different from taking a supplement. And then towards the end of the day, you start going back to the red. And so this signal of how the spectrum changes in the day gives your body a lot of information to deal with. It will give your body information on when to start producing juices for digestion. Your it will give your body information about when to start using glucose more efficiently, and when to stop using glucose more efficiently and start using fat. All of these informations are important for our body to work properly. It will also tell your body when is the right time to rest and repair, and when is the right time to actually like start moving and being more productive and shutting down repair activities. The problem today is that when we spend most of our time indoors, and we're most of the time exposed to artificial light, we lose that subtlety. We lose those informations. We're getting the same light throughout the day, from the moment you wake up all the way to the moment you sleep, and your body is just confused, does not know what to do. We know that, for example, blue light pushes you to consume more glucose. That's why everyone is binging on carbs today, because you just like that. That's what's supposed to happen when you're outside and you have a lot of bright blue light. Your body thinks that it's summer, and that it's the time where you have to eat your fruits, because fruits are available in summer, so that you can charge up on those carbs. But when you're doing it inside the whole year, that's when you start having problems. The other big problem is that the artificial light we get today is super rich in blue, but does not have all the other components. You don't have UV anymore. So you're not making vitamin D, you're not making endorphins in your skin, you're not lowering your blood pressure anymore. You don't have the red and infrared, which counteracts the effects of blue. Blue destroys your eye, your retina, while the infrared heals it. And so if you don't have these together, you're making things worse. So it's a bunch of stuff that makes it so that people are feeling bad. They can't sleep when you're exposed to the blue light all the time. Your body does not know when to sleep. Your body is not resting, and over time, over years and maybe decades, this means you have a higher risk of getting cancer because your body does not repair anymore, or does not repair as efficiently. You have a higher risk of getting diabetes because your body does not know how to control metabolism anymore, and satiety and your desire to eat. Retinal damage because you don't get as much red to be able to heal your eyes. So a host of issues that are way bigger than people understand.
So that is absolutely massive because, like you said, people are living an indoor existence nowadays. So, for example, you have people that wake up, first thing they do is check their phone. And just for anyone that doesn't know, I imagine you all know, but blue light essentially means artificial light from light bulbs that are LED, and then things like your laptop, your phone, your tablet, smartphone, whatever, TV, all of that, any source of artificial light.
I think 7 hours per day is, I think, the average we spend in front of screens today,
which is just insane. Just insane. And we're both probably guilty, so that is why we take precautions. I see the glasses you have on now. Are they the like blue light blocking glasses or anything like that?
So these are the glasses I wear in the morning, just to block the blue light from artificial light and from the screens. I actually don't have my light on right now because it's sunny for once in a while in London. But yeah, so I have a few colors of these. So this is the amber color that I wear in the morning and in the afternoon. I take them off at noon, and then in the evening I have glasses that are more red so that they can really block all the blue light.
Which is so important.
And you know what, Bart? Like, the problem is that this is again efficiency versus healthcare. So like, we used to have incandescent light back in the 70s and 50s. And these are not efficient from a cost perspective, but they look very much like the sun. They have infrared, they have red light. That's why I think many people still remember their like when they were young and they feel like, yeah, the light was warmer and everything was nicer. And then now we started moving to LED, which is more efficient from a cost perspective, but does not look like natural light at all. So if you look at the spectrum, incandescent has a natural spectrum like sunlight. LED has just like very high intensity in the dimensions or in the colors we see. That's why we don't see a huge difference, but nothing else. Does not have the full spectrum. And now LEDs are mostly blue because that makes us more efficient. So if you think about it, it's like when you put chicken in like under those lights so that they can grow bigger more quickly. From an efficiency perspective, but they're going to be very unhealthy, and that's literally what's happening in with humans. We put blue light in offices because we know that people are going to be more productive under those lights.
It's so sinister when you think about it, right? Like the stressor that people know is causing so much damage, it's just raising your cortisol through the roof, but we're using it so that the people can work harder. Very sinister. And I feel like that's a recurring theme in the world nowadays, consciously doing something that's going to harm our health in the name of efficiency. So
I think, to be honest with you, I know many people say this is done in a way to harm. I don't think so. I think just that people's priorities are not in check. Even at the high level and people's of responsibilities, their priorities are not in check. You're prioritizing a few like a few percentages of productivity over people's health. And I think that's a moral problem of priorities.
And obviously the money side of things. So like we said, LED is going to be running at a much lower cost than incandescent light bulbs. But I have a question for the viewers now. I saw this somewhere on Instagram a while back. Right. Question for you as well. Right. If I gave you $1 million, would you take it? Yes or no?
I mean, if there is no, yeah, of course. If there is,
okay, so no, that's all I need. Of course,
yes, yeah.
Okay, so the catch is that you don't wake up tomorrow morning. Would you still take the $1 million?
Obviously not.
Obviously not. So there you go. Like, what's more important, health and your life, or the money side of things? It's something to think about. Maybe I phrased that wrong, but it's something that really got my mind going.
I think you're completely right. And I think the other aspect is, as humans, we're very bad at thinking holistically and thinking about like the consequences of what we do. Like I think someone would take, like, it's the same with junk food. Like when someone goes to McDonald's or goes to like buys food they know will hurt them but will give them a few moments of joy. That's because you're over indexing on now, and you're not thinking enough about tomorrow. But the way you phrased it made it very like
in your face. Yeah, it's a good question. It's a good question to ask people. I think that sort of shifts people's perspective on what's actually important. So yeah. Right, 360 upgrade. I want to ask you now, what are some things that people can start doing right now when they stop listening to this podcast to start improving their health and therefore their life as a whole?
So I would say the biggest change that I see with clients is when they tend to their light environment and when they connect back to real light. And so how does this look like? Wake up as close as possible to the sunrise, and then go outside and spend 10-15 minutes outside watching the sunrise, or just after the sunrise, so you can get that red light in your eyes, so you can reset your circadian rhythm and get all that energy flowing. Get sun breaks. Like I think people need to get to the idea that we need to go out every now and then and take 5-10 minute sun breaks, whatever you need.
I just want to say something. I think you posted this a while back about the workplace environment, that if you're going out for a cigarette break, it's no problem. But if you mention to someone that you want to go out for a sun break, they're like, dude,
they're gonna look at you like a weirdo.
What do you mean sun break? What's wrong with you? Like, so that's so funny. It just puts things into perspective.
Right? Yeah. So and then open your windows as well, because your windows are going to be blocking the full spectrum, and you're not going to get as many benefits. So if you're sitting next to windows, just open them. Even a small opening will make
it's a little loud. They're working on the pool, but I think it should be fine.
And then mitigate your blue light, the blue light around you. If you can, change to an incandescent bulb. I know that now they're making them impossible to buy. I think there is regulation that just make it, but you still can source them from other countries. So get red light or incandescent light. Don't use a lot of light at night. We have just a small, very tamed light that we use, but kind of lower your light, and you will see, like, people see it. The moment they do this, they feel way more relaxed. They sleep way better. If you're gonna watch the TV, use blue blockers. So this is on the light side. On the other things that people can do, connect better to your earth. And this can be done very easily. You have today strips that you can buy that allow you to ground, even if you're wearing the most expensive Versace shoes. So there are no excuses. You can look great and still do this. Spend time eating real food and actually make choices and look for the best food you can get that will be okay, even if you're in a restaurant. Sometimes I'm so daunted by the options in a restaurant that I just take a cheese board. Yeah. Or I tell them give me feta with salad and give me 2 portions and that's it. So yeah, like try to get there, like food, like real food is quite clear. You get fish, you get meat, you get vegetables that are cooked in butter or in olive oil, etc. And I would say the final advice that I would give people is really invest in a community. I think that's one of the biggest misses of developed societies, is that community is gone, and that actually that is quite important for your health. It's quite important for your longevity, for your stress levels. So do that, and it's also fun, right?
Dude, that is huge how you touch on community, because the mainstream narrative that you see pushed nowadays is that, oh, if you're a young guy between 20 and 24, you need to be a lone wolf and go ghost and just grind and don't talk to anyone, don't look at anyone, don't connect with anyone, just work, grind. And while there is some truth to that, and I do believe in the power of taking like a monk mode period to yourself, where, you know, you're strictly focused on one thing and achieving a goal, dude, I absolutely back up what you're saying, that if you are this lone wolf type of guy, it starts manifesting some issues deep down, because like you're saying, human connection has always been there. You know, like animals move in packs, humans always used to move in packs as well. But nowadays we live in this modern world where most people don't even know their neighbors, you know, the apartment next door to them or the apartment above or below. We're so disconnected from, like, you know, social health, and social health is a big part of holistic health as well, because obviously humans crave connection.
And I remember when you were in London, you always had those meetups, and so I see that that's an important piece to you as well. But I agree with you. Like the lone wolf is a, I think it's a trap. I've seen it firsthand. So I mean, as you know, I grew up in Morocco. Community is so strong there, and you know, you wouldn't look for a meaning to your life because you had it in front of you. You had it in front of your eyes. You would just feel great. Then I moved to France. France is way better than the UK from a community perspective. People connect better and produce communities, and so that was happy times as well. And then when I came to the UK and spending more time between the UK and the US, people are super nice, but the community aspect is not as developed, and you can feel, you know, like even if you're more successful from a financial perspective or whatever you have in mind, like, to do what, for why, like, what are you going to do with your jet on your own? And most of the times it's too late, because people are just going to see a bank account in you once you're too successful.
Yeah, that is huge. That is huge. And you know what? Having lived in London myself, obviously, for quite a while, I definitely do see the disconnect. You know, I didn't really, well, I had neighbors on both sides, but only the ones on the left were willing to actually even say something other than good morning. You know, it's like such a disconnected city. Like you said, people are nice for the most part, and it's easy to kind of have like a quick chit chat with someone, but to actually find like a decent community and a group of people is actually very difficult. So that's why I resorted to doing all these meetups with, you know, guys I know online, or for example, the UK Carnivore crew that organize dinners, and that is where I met good people. But as far as like the day-to-day life goes, I feel like everyone's in a rush. Everyone's always rushing from doing nothing to do nothing again, but in a different place. And like it's a big disconnect. So right, now that we're on it, just to clear things up for people, why is the community side of things so important? Why do we need social connection and like a tight-knit group of people that we trust and hang out with? You said that it gives meaning, but why?
Yeah, so I think that from a biological perspective, we have evolved. So humans are not lone wolves. Let's just get that out. We, like, humans that survived um, millions of years of evolution, or hundreds of thousands of years of evolution, I should say, um, have been in communities that help each other, that work with each other, that specialize, and that are a helping hand to each other. And so I think from a biological perspective, your stress level is just going to be lower when you feel connected to a community, because you know that people have your back. And you don't, I think you don't even realize this from a conscious perspective. It's just a subconscious realization. And they have done these studies where they show that the least connected someone is, and the less friends they have, and the higher their stress level is continuously, meaning that your cells are going to age faster. You're going to think less clearly. Your repair is not gonna be as well. You can increase your risk of inflammation and cancer and chronic diseases, just because of this feeling that you're not in a community and you don't have people that have your back. And so I think at the heart of it, that's the main thing. From a personal perspective, having a community also allows you to train parts of your brain, your social skills, your emotions, your empathy, and allows you to connect and get, or like fertilize ideas, and like get open your perspective, etc. And so yeah, I think it's really quite an important piece. Unfortunately, that I see less and less and less. I mean, I have my the younger generation in my family is like everyone is on there. I honestly, I don't know how the next generation is gonna make it unless they really wake up, because like the TikToks and the like Snapchat and never really connecting other than through a phone, and not feeling the other person's energy. And I mean, there is even biological sides to it. Like your heart is actually a vessel that pushes magnetic resonance around you, and pushes a magnetic field around you, and so you can feel someone's energy when you're meeting them. But if you're just talking through the phone, you're losing that. So yeah, it's a big miss.
That's massively important as well, because I feel like that could be taken out of context. People thinking that by community, they can just go ahead and join a Discord, or, just talk with someone online, and that's the same thing. No, absolutely not. What we're talking about is real human connection here. But I have a question for you now. So let's say there's some young guy listening to this, and he's absolutely has no friends, or no connection, no community whatsoever. And no shame in that either. We've all been there, especially myself. When I moved to a new country, dude, I have to go out my way to try and make
Absolutely.
friends and find a community, which can be anxiety producing, and it can make you nervous and stressful. But I feel like I've tackled that problem now. I know what I'm doing. But where can people go out and find, for example, like-minded people, or not necessarily like-minded people, but just someone that they can connect with? What is some advice you give someone?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think this is a good question, because I think you have been in the situation. I have been in the situation every time we move locations. I think one way to find communities to really invest in practicing sport. I found that is a great way to connect with people. You have um, like periods of time where you're playing, and where you can connect, and where you have a baseline that connects you, and so you can start from there, and then you can go have dinner after, or these kind of things. So that is, I think, a super easy way to connect with people. I would say that another one is just um, investing in something, a hobby, something you like. I remember in Paris, I went and I did theater classes, because why not? And you meet people there. Obviously, that stopped. It wasn't for me, but you meet people there, and you can connect with them. And I would say just looking at opportunities around you. There are always people that are open to connect. And in my experience, especially in these individualistic countries, people are starving for connection. So you speak to someone, and you take your time, and you breathe deeply, and you just take really interest in the other person, regardless of age, younger, older, man, woman, whatever, and you just try to listen to them and kind of like go beyond scratching the surface, and people most of the time will respond. Your neighbors, the person in the coffee shop, whatever. And that's how you start your community. And I would say even I find more I find it richer to connect with people that have nothing to do with you, that are not part of your like normal community, have different opinions. That's how you make yourself grow, right? Like that's like going to the gym. You need to like push yourself. That's the same for people. Connect with people you would have never connected with.
Yeah, that's huge, man. And I gotta say that is exactly how I've made my little circle of friends here. So all great guys. But it was exactly like you said, just sitting in a Starbucks somewhere down by the marina. I hear them speaking English, which I don't hear, a lot here because the English is quite poor in Turkey. And it was just that same exact thing you said, start off at the surface level, but then scratch deeper and deeper and deeper. And by the end, dude, we'd spoken for like 2 hours and we got like really deep, and I felt like I really connected with them. And, all of a sudden we're friends. I want to touch on, you said individualistic society. So that is true. And I feel like a lot of people just focus too much on the like networking side of things. Just everything is a network. Everything is, what can this person offer me? And what does he do that I can benefit from? And how can I make money from him? How can he be a client or help me get more clients? Like, stop networking, just not everything has to be about like money and how to get to this level. Just like we said, like how you grow is you hear different perspectives from different people, like that doesn't mean just go out and hang out with like a bunch of losers or whatever, excuse me if that's
Obviously
offensive,
not.
but
Yeah.
like people with different opinions. For example, you like the gym, but your friend likes mountain climbing or rock climbing and hates the gym. Just maybe
Great.
go try out what he does, like.
Yeah. He'll challenge you. Maybe you'll end up liking that as well, or you will form a better opinion about it, that you don't like it because of XYZ, not just because you think that. Absolutely, man. And I would even say that the I think my message to people is that people need to chill the fuck out.
Yeah.
Honestly, like it feels like so much is like people feel like they need to figure everything out and everything needs to be planned. No, chill the fuck out.
It's a
You can
good message.
you can relax and go read so like this is one of the books I really liked, The Alchemist. Read it, absorb it. It has great messages in it, and I think the biggest message in The Alchemist is chill the fuck out.
That's a good one, like if you really internalize that, that's very important. So we're slowly creeping up on an hour here. There was just one more topic I wanted to touch on before we start wrapping things up, and that is testosterone.
Yep.
Right. So you have a whole course on testosterone. I believe it's like almost 3 hours of testosterone. So it's very clear that you know a lot about this topic. So I want to ask you, what's the deal with testosterone? Why is everyone talking about it nowadays? Is men's testosterone under attack? Why is it dropping so much year on year on year? And why is the average man's testosterone nowadays like half of that of his grandfather at the same age, let's say 40, 50 years ago?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think testosterone is a big subject because it's the chemical manifestation of the loss of manhood in general. And I think that in our current society it just feels like it's a shame to be a man, like sometimes it just feels like it's wrong and you have to be like and it's not okay to be a manly man, and you need to be a feminine man, and etc. And I actually think that there is a connection between the societal conceptual side of things and the chemical side of things, because our body actually looks at those clues and reacts to them. So I'm sure that there is a connection there. Like for example, when men have babies, their testosterone goes down by design, because this way they can help more with the baby, etc. And so I think there is definitely a push against manhood, both from a conceptual perspective as well as a chemical perspective and in environmental perspective. Testosterone is the hormone that makes men energetic and focused, and like make us men. And right now it's under attack because of our way of living. We live out of plastic, we live with toxins. Anything that you like, I think look at a day in your life and see how many times you're in front of plastics. You get your apple out of a plastic, you take your coffee out of a plastic cup, etc. And all of these plastics, they have chemicals that look like estrogen, and that kill your testosterone and increase your estrogen and create imbalances in your body. Our way of living is less connected to nature, so people spend less time doing hard things from a body perspective. We're so intellectual, and we're less connected to our body and just doing stuff with our hands, and that can impact your testosterone. We have non-native EMFs around us, the Wi-Fi and the Bluetooth that you have, and literally you have your phone next to your testicles, which make 95% of your testosterone. And so that I think there are 1,000 reasons that testosterone is going down, but I think the two main ones is that our environment is actually making it harder for us to make testosterone and keep balance between our hormones, because it's more than testosterone. You have estrogen, which needs to be in check, and you have DHT, which is the powerful version of testosterone, which needs to be in check. So you have an environment that makes it very hard for you. You have non-native EMFs. People are not sleeping because they don't see the sun. You're not getting sunlight and infrared anymore. You're getting plastic everywhere. You're getting toxins. Your perfume has toxins, etc. And on the other side, the conceptual side of society, where we're glorifying men that are not showing their manhood, and we're shaming men that show their manhood. And your body is smart. It can be like, you know what, gotta save my ass. And so yeah, that those are the reasons why testosterone is going down. The problem is testosterone is really important for men because it's way beyond sex, and it's way beyond muscles. If you have high testosterone, you're less likely to have diabetes. If you have high testosterone, you're more likely to sleep better and to not have sleep apnea. So it's just one of the things that are happening with this modern lifestyle and modern concepts that is not helping our health.
And you see it nowadays, this epidemic of low testosterone men, and you kind of see the effect that that's having on society as a whole as well, which is sad to see. But just to wrap this up, so you touched on this, saying that obviously, society sort of shames masculine men, and what you see pushed out there nowadays is like, the likes of Harry Styles, men wearing dresses, or the likes of Sam Smith, which I don't even know if he's a man anymore per se or whatever. And the next thing is like just the disconnect that we have from nature, for example, your phone beside your package, which is probably not good because it's a non-native EMF that's sending out all this radiation that's God knows what it's doing. But what are some other ways that men can start working to, increase their testosterone, increase their DHT, and keep that estrogen in check?
I think the biggest factor is actually your environment. Because at the end of the day, if something is actually disrupting your body, even if your body is trying to get back to normal, it's going to be very hard for it. So taking away plastic from your life as much as possible. Go get your coffee in the coffee shop with a normal cup. Nothing in your kitchen should be made up of plastic. Upgrade all of your body care. Like you can, like, why would you use those L'Oreal or Nivea when you can just slap some tallow balm on your face, and use like the most basic soap with olive oil. So yeah, I think the chemical side of things and improving all your environment there, as well as the non-native EMF side of things, making sure that you turn your phone into airplane mode if you're going to put it in next to your package, as you said, and kind of like sleep without Wi-Fi on and these kind of things. So this is the most important. And then once you do this, the other aspects are essentially getting better circadian rhythm, getting a better sleep, going more to the gym, dealing with your thyroid. Your thyroid can really badly impact your testosterone. So if you have thyroid problems, and unfortunately today, many people have thyroid problems, gut is the other important aspect. When you have leaky gut, or when your gut is not helping you detox your estrogen as much, you're going to have too much estrogen in your body, which will give you the same symptoms. So yeah, there is a lot, but I would say the first thing I would tell someone to start with is look at your environment, and invest in making that environment better. And then the rest is the basics: the sleep, the circadian rhythm, the thyroid, the gut, etc.
That is huge. And yeah, what a nice way to wrap this all up. So yeah, you get one life and you only get one shot at having, peak health, and it's in your hands, and realistically, nobody's going to come and do it for you. So that is huge, man. That's a lot of value for the people on how they can start optimizing their health. Now, 360 upgrades. Obviously, you're on Instagram, preaching day in and day out, every single day, providing people with value. But what else do you have on the menu? What else do you offer?
Oh yeah, sure. So I have I mean, as you said, I have courses. So these courses are kind of a condensed way for people to understand both the basics of how their body works, and then have practical ways to improve their health. So the courses focus on circadian rhythms, on water and cellular hydration, which is another big component. It's beautiful, Bart. The more you understand the body, the more amazing it is. Your water actually makes your proteins fold, makes your mitochondria work in the right way. There is so much more to water than what we know. So there is cellular hydration, the circadian rhythms, the light environment, the ancestral nutrition, and the testosterone courses. So I offer these courses if people want to get started on their own. When people need more help, I also offer private coaching. And so I help men and women improve on issues mainly around testosterone and energy and fertility, as well as gut and thyroid problems. And yeah, that's the menu.
Amazing, the menu, man. Yeah. I don't know if you understood what I meant there, but then I think it clicked, the menu. So yeah, dude, it's clear that you know a lot, and this might be new information to some people, but it's so simple once you know what it is, right? Like it just all seems
I think people like to make things complex, but they're not. I think, like it's like in physics. The more you understand physics, the more you can break down all the laws into a few simple ones. And it's the same with health. Like you can, I can, like people can write 500 pages books on thyroid and 1,000 books on gut, 1,000 pages books on your gut, but the basics are simple.
That's great. So yeah, Ismail, this has been Fundamental Wisdom Podcast, episode 11. And yeah, thank you so much for your time. Wrapping it up here. And yeah, thank you to all the listeners.